This is Life Body Business Impact with Fatima. Welcome friends, I am so grateful to have you here. I'm your host, Fatima Ingalls, fitness expert, best-selling author, lifestyle entrepreneur, founder of the Life Body Business Fit Systems and co-founder of the amazing Freedom Retreats. My mission is to positively impact 10 million lives, to inspire you to wake up and live from your bucket list of dreams instead of waking up one day with a bucket list of regrets. Get ready to be inspired with weekly episodes and interviews that disrupt your thinking and motivate you to build your best life, body, and business. To change one life is to change many, so come with me now and let's get started with yours. Hello friends and welcome to the show and yet another interview with a woman many describe in one word as simply being powerful. Today I am chatting with global entrepreneur Hazel Herrington. Now I had the pleasure of meeting Hazel in California late last year and then again at a mastermind in Florida. I was impressed by Hazel's poise, her passion and her purpose, and I absolutely adore her accent. She's a mother of three, she's a business consultant and property investor who has shared the stage with the likes of people like Patrice Motsepe, not sure if I'm saying that correctly, but Patrice is Africa's first black billionaire, the property mogul Hugh Hilton, and South African billionaire Jenna Clifford, just to name a few people. Hazel is also a philanthropist and she's a member of UN Women Australia. She has an absolute passion to equip and empower women in poverty to start their own small, successful businesses. Now, to date, she has empowered more than 12,000 women to become economically independent and self-sufficient. I think that is absolutely amazing. She's a woman of strong faith. Hazel, thank you for joining me today. I would love to begin by sharing with our audience your background. So who is Hazel Herrington?
Thank you, Fatima, for the fantastic introduction. Well, Fatima, Hazel Herrington is a Zimbabwean, currently based in Australia, a mum of three, a global entrepreneur, and international brand ambassador for Zimbabwe. And my story is an absolutely exciting one. From a single mom traveling from Zimbabwe 4 years ago to Australia, went back to university, engaged a business coach, started speaking globally on platforms with millionaires, billionaires, celebrities, and now I have my own show on Blue Television and on channels such as Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. Fantastic journey I've been on.
That is absolutely amazing. And so Hazel, you are a global entrepreneur and a mum. What is a global entrepreneur?
Okay, well, a global entrepreneur is an entrepreneur that has global experience, global exposure, global networks, and global clients. And basically, this is where an entrepreneur allows themselves to get the exposure by going to different countries and getting an open awareness of global issues. And they become more aware of what it's like to be a global citizen. And I truly believe that we've entered a season whereby doing business locally in your country or just a neighboring country is just not enough, because technology is advancing so fast. It's so easy to network with entrepreneurs all over the world. Travel has become easier. And so in essence, global entrepreneurship is the way to go.
I absolutely agree with that. I guess with the internet, the age of the internet, and how fast communication is, we can have global businesses so much easier now than what we could 10 years ago. In terms of your global entrepreneurship, and you spoke about your speaking engagements and keynote speaking, what is it that is driving you? What's your purpose and passion when you're out there speaking? I'd love to hear more about that and for you to share a little bit more about that.
Okay. Well, my passion is to empower women and youth to become economically independent and self-sufficient. I've been in a situation where I've had nothing to put on the table, almost homeless, coming out of a successful marriage and being single. And I know what it's like to start over again as a single mom. It is so difficult. And so when I came to Australia, further my education, I made it a mission that I would work so hard, educate myself, expose myself globally in business so that I could equip and empower the next woman. And it's not easy being a woman in business, especially from Africa. I've learned that we have to work extra hard. I've learned that because we're coming from a different culture, even when I travel globally, internationally, is that besides having to work extra hard and perform, on levels that other people don't need to, it's important that even as I've been lifted up, as I've been empowered, to go back and empower others.
Yeah, that's absolutely wonderful and amazing. And I guess I share a similar sort of experience being a single mum and coming from a successful relationship, marriage in terms of what people think success is from a financial perspective, to then basically having to start all over again like you as a single mum of 3. So I can completely relate, and I know that there are so many women out there listening to this who can relate to what you've just shared. When you decided to come to Australia from Zimbabwe 4 years ago, what was the reason that you chose Australia? What happened for you to decide to move to Australia?
Well, I was in a marriage for 10 years, and to everybody, this marriage was successful and there was nothing going wrong. But behind closed doors, I wasn't so happy. There was a lot of things going on. And what's important is that when people are in a marriage, when they're in a relationship, we hide a lot. And this is related to business as well, is that we are running businesses and everybody thinks everything is going okay, but it wasn't going okay. I was unhappy and I needed to make a choice whether I was going to stay in this unhappy marriage, move on to bigger and greater things, or stay stuck in this marriage and make everybody else happy. And it's important that, and I'm speaking to the women out there, is that I've been in a place where I'm married to somebody extremely successful, and you're so afraid of the embarrassment of what people will say, what people will think if you decide to get out of a marriage that's not working, where you're stuck, and because of maybe losing friends or the same, you're not going to be as comfortable, or you may lose something, but in terms of property and goods. But let me tell you, is that I've never been more free than I am today. I'm happier because I was so stuck. I was in a marriage that I used to shake sometimes when I'd have conversations with my ex-partner, because I would find a message in a phone, and there was things weren't working out because of situations that are complicated, other relationships, other people involved in your relationship. And I used to have nervous breakdowns, just shaking just by a phone ringing. And I realized, what am I doing? I'm going to end up maybe having high blood pressure. And, I put everything into this marriage and it wasn't working. And I'm proud to say I gained the courage and the strength to say, this is not working, and moved on. And look at me. I'm a global entrepreneur, impacting nations, and a global brand ambassador, and empowering women all over the world.
That is absolutely amazing, Hazel. Thank you so much for sharing that. Again, that resonates so much to my own story, and I'm certain to so many women that are listening. It sounds to me as if you chose yourself, you chose freedom, and you talked about keeping up appearances. And so many people these days, especially with social media, are keeping up appearances, whether it's in their personal life or their marriage or their business. And I think it actually makes people really quite unwell to be able to be having to feel as though they have to keep this facade up. Is that what was happening with you, that you were having to keep up a facade?
Absolutely. And Fatima, I'll tell you what, is that I put all my energy into the charities that I was running. I was distributing Bibles to prisons, to schools. I was doing feeding programs. So I was so miserable. I was so unhappy and stressed. I'll tell you, I had so many sleepless nights where I'd get up in the morning at 3:00 and just get up and walk and go and pray in the lounge, because, when you are so stressed, depressed, and unhappy, you also develop insomnia, and it begins to affect your health. So I'm glad you mentioned that. And my way of escape was putting all my energy into the charities, which I was so passionate about. And unfortunately, we actually never were passionate about the same thing. So I still, although I put all my energy in these charities, I still found myself alone. So
that's amazing what you actually did, and the fact that you realized what was going on and had the courage. You used the word courage before, had the courage to decide to make a change, and a massive change all the way from Zimbabwe to Australia, and to completely change your life. And you were faced with a crossroads and you made a decision. And so often people are unhappy in their situation, whether it be a relationship, whether it be with the state of their physical health or their business, but they don't dig deep enough to find the courage to actually make a change. But when you do, the payoff can be absolutely phenomenal, as you have illustrated to all of us here. What is your advice to people who are stuck and unhappy? What is your one piece of advice for them?
My advice, and I'm speaking to women that are listening right now. You're stuck in a relationship, you're stuck in a job that you're not happy with, and you're putting up this facade for people, and everybody thinks everything's okay, and you are struggling emotionally, and maybe you're actually going through domestic abuse, verbal, financial abuse, and it's okay to talk to somebody. The first thing I'll say is that speak up, speak to somebody, talk to somebody, because when you internalize all this, it begins to affect your body. I tell you, Fatima, I almost lost my eyesight, being stressed and internalizing things. I just talked about how I would get up at night so stressed, thinking about my children. I was separated from my children. My children couldn't visit me in Australia. And it hurt me so much being separated from my children. And, it began to affect my health, the depression. And when I finally started speaking to my mom and my family, and then, it made things better. But here's the thing is that I was still struggling, when I wasn't talking about it, when I was stuck in the marriage. But getting the courage to speak to somebody, getting the courage to say, no, this is not right, are the first steps. The second step is that it's okay to seek counseling. I thought that it's embarrassing to go and see a counselor. And I was so grateful that when I started studying, somebody recommended that I go for counseling. And it was okay because I had a young daughter who needed a mom that was mentally, when I say mentally, physically, fit. Because when you're going through depression, all that stuff, you don't have time, to comfort, love, and give your children all the attention that they need. And going through counseling made me realize that I had my little girl with me, and she needed all my focus, my attention, and my love. And regardless of what I was going through, I needed to be 100% for her. So everything that I do today is for my daughter. And that when she sees mom and she becomes a woman one day, she's 6 now, she'll know that mom's been through. She never quit. She got up, and look at where she is today.
And just that decision, so much respect for that, because that decision will impact your daughter's life, potentially impact your daughter's life and so many others in a ripple effect, because you have chosen to speak. You have chosen to prioritize your physical, mental and emotional health, which is something that I'm a huge advocate for and have been for the last 8.5, 9 years, when I found myself in a similar position on my own as a widow with 3 sons. And same as you, I had depression, I had autoimmune diseases, lots of issues, just because the distress that I'd been living in and the stress had internalized. And I one day realized that I am no good to my children if I'm not physically, mentally and emotionally well. And from that point on, I decided, like you, I sought counseling, and I was very open about it because I thought there should be no stigma around it. But I took care, I prioritized my exercise and health and nutrition, because I realized that if I couldn't take care of myself first, how well was I able to take care of my children, and what sort of a role model was I going to be for them to prioritize their own wellness? How was I going to produce in business? How successful was I going to be in my career or business or relationships if I wasn't pouring from a cup that was full, or at least a cup that wasn't empty?
Absolutely.
So speaking to that in terms of your own care, aside from counselling, what did you do and what do you do now for self-care? Because you're obviously a successful entrepreneur. What do you do to keep your health in check?
Yeah. Well, what I do is that I got this advice from my counselor, because in order for me to be able to be active and to overcome everything negative that was going on with me emotionally, I needed to exercise. Because when you exercise first thing in the morning, your day starts off right. You've exercised, and I realized I started to feel better, And here's what happens with most women when they come out of a toxic relationship, is that they immediately put on weight, which is what I did. I put on weight because I was comfort eating. I was just eating just to overcome the negative emotions. And basically, you're eating, and you wouldn't say that you're eating pounds and pounds of food. And also because of all these chemicals, reactions in your body through the depression, you actually put on weight faster. So I started going to the gym, and my confidence was boosted because of that. And I started to eat healthy, and I've got a very athletic body, and so if I eat a lot of carbohydrates, I put on weight quite a bit. But it's also good, but I also lose very fast. So I would say my advice is exercising, and also I started eating the right foods and understanding my body. And most importantly, Fatima, I need to repeat is that through all the emotional trauma that I went through, I needed to understand that I needed to make a decision about what I was going to do with my body, my mental state. And I'll repeat again, getting help. And I also joined UN Women. They transformed my life. Joining UN Women made me understand that I could overcome every negative situation by helping others. I would create, not only creating change for myself, but for others. And I'm now empowerment champion for UN Women. I also got to understand that I'm not alone. There are other women out there that are going through emotional, physical abuse, financial abuse. And so by collaborating with them and helping other women, it just made it just, I just felt it boosted my confidence. Yeah.
So that's absolutely amazing. I agree with everything you say in relation to the food and the exercises being very, very important when you're obviously a business person, but just for general health anyway, and dealing with the things that you were dealing with. Coming back to UN Women, that's United Nations Women?
Yes, UN Women, Australian National Committee.
Okay, so you're an empowerment champion there. So you mentioned before you help coach women to successfully make changes in their own life. Can you talk to us a little bit more about what your role entails there, and what sort of change you're being able to affect by being part of UN Women?
Okay, I've been a part of UN Women, the Australian National Committee, and it's strictly a fundraising organization where we raise funds for women that are going through domestic violence, globally domestic violence, and we also work on projects that promote gender equality. We also work on projects relating to women in conflict zones, and basically women all over the world are going through a lot. And UN Women is also important in educating women, and I'm so excited in that I've also been educated to understand what other women are going through around the world, like in India, how the draconian laws that are there affect women. And I'm speaking to the women out there that are going through various issues in your own country. You need to understand that you're not alone. There are other women that are going through similar situations, and sometimes we feel, are we all alone? You're not alone, and I would encourage you to get hold of any help centers in your areas. And yeah, speak to someone.
The label or the title empowerment champion is absolutely perfect for what you're describing that you are actually doing at the moment, and much respect again to you for what you were doing to help women in the community globally, Hazel. I think it's absolutely amazing. You also mentioned when we chatted earlier before we started this recording that you're an international brand ambassador for Zimbabwe, which is your home country. How did that come about? That is, I imagine, such an honour and also a responsibility to be a brand ambassador for an entire country.
Thank you so much, Fatima, for that recognition. Fatima, when I was working with charities in Zimbabwe, no one really knew me. And like I said, I was also going through my own emotional issues, and I decided to focus more on the charities. And I did that for about 6 years. And here's the thing is that I would go into the prisons. I would collaborate with the Ministry of Education, going to the schools. I would also collaborate with the Bulawayo City Council. So I was doing this for years, and I wasn't looking for recognition from anybody. I was doing it because I was passionate about equipping, empowering the women and youth of Zimbabwe. And what happened is that when I moved to Australia, I would go back during the semester breaks and continue to do the work. And basically, I was recognized by the City of Bulawayo, BBT Trust, and they nominated me. And here I am today as a brand ambassador, international public relations brand ambassador for Zimbabwe.
What a wonderful achievement, Hazel. And obviously, you've got a global stage to continue your purpose of helping women and youth become economically independent and self-sufficient. Now, with all these things that you were doing and you've got all these key partnerships. How do you develop key partnerships personally and in business for the people who are entrepreneurs and listening, and they're trying to make relationships with the right people in the industry? What are your keys in relation to making those key relationships and those key connections?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing is that who you surround yourself with is who you become. You've got to put yourself out there. So if you're into real estate and you want your key partners are having events and they're having conferences, you need to be out there, people, because if I don't know who you are, how am I going to do business with you? And Yeah, and one of the most important things I did when I came to Australia is that I learned how to network. I first got into real estate as a real estate agent, and as a real estate agent, I needed to put myself out there, which meant going to functions, meeting people, putting myself out there. And so, who your key partners are out there, and you've got to go to the events, find out who they are, and also connect with them on your social media platforms, and you've got to stick out of the crowd. And how do you stick out of the crowd is that you've got to make sure that in everything that you do, from branding yourself, that you're authentic, you're original, and being your true self, because there's so many copies out there, and key partners are looking for originals.
I love all of that, and your social media is absolutely amazing, and it does speak to all of that. You do stand out. You are authentic, and you can see it and you can feel it, and you can also see and feel that when people aren't authentic in their presence on social media, I believe. Some great tips there about networking, because I guess some people go out and network, but there's a difference between networking and successfully networking. I mean, there's no point going to events and just having a business card out, but not really speaking to people. And from what I have witnessed of yourself and myself, when we've gone to events together where we've met, you're a great networker. So people, get onto Hazel's social media page and look at what she does and replicate some of what she's actually doing on there on Facebook and Instagram, which Hazel, I believe it's Hazel Herrington Official on Instagram. Is that the correct handle?
Yes, yep. At Hazel Herrington Official.
Beautiful. And on Facebook, they can find you at just Hazel Herrington on Facebook?
Yes, they can.
Yes. So, guys, listen to what Hazel has just said about being authentic and networking, and go and have a look at what she does, because she does it really, really well. Hazel, let's talk mentorship and coaching. You obviously coach people and mentor people, but has mentorship and coaching played an important role for you in developing business and personally?
Absolutely. When I traveled to Australia, I went back to school, but that was basically laying a foundation. But I began to fly when I engaged a business coach with the JT Fox organization. And here's the thing is that, you need someone that sees your potential. You need somebody that believes in you. And I remember going to the JT Fox organization, the very first workshop, and in walks in the founder, JT Fox, and I knew that I was called to nations. I just didn't know how to get there. My university degree is basically going to lectures, they teach you. But he was a coach who would give me a step-by-step process of how I could become that global leader. We're talking about, because I wanted to be a global leader, a politician, to change and transform lives. But I needed somebody who had been there, and who would take my hand and lead me and guide me. And I knew there and then when he started to speak about the nations that he had been to. And this was a global leader, in terms of business, the world's number one wild coach. And I was like, you know what? Who you surround yourself with is who you become. I need to surround myself with this organization, its coaches, and its founder. And it has transformed my life. I tell you, I've spoken on global platforms around the world, in South Africa, spoken to 2,500 entrepreneurs. I've spoken in LA, Zimbabwe, as a keynote speaker. And this year alone, I'll be speaking and we're in June, I'll be speaking in 7 countries. 2 I've already announced, and the other countries are still to be announced. That's America, Australia, South Africa, Ghana. The list is endless. And here it is that engaging a business coach has not only transformed my life, but as a business coach myself, I have a lot of clients that have come through and worked with me, and I have created platforms for them. And that's the thing about mentors and coaches. They open doors that nobody else can open, and you reach your destination faster. And I'm so grateful, that my coach, JT Fox, saw my potential, believed in me. And yeah, the sky's the limit.
Thank you for sharing all of that. JT is absolutely one of a kind. I don't think I've ever come across anyone who works as hard as JT Fox. So I guess the key message there is invest in yourself, invest in coaches for your business, because like Hazel said, it opens doors and you get to your destination faster. So, do you want to get there in 3 years, or do you want to get there in 13 years? This is something that both Hazel and I agree on and have a similar viewpoint. is in relation to investing in business coaching and personal coaching as well. Hazel, I want to shift gear just a little bit and talk about, with your heavy schedule, you said you're going to be speaking in 7 countries. A little
Yes.
bit, was it June?
No. It's throughout the rest of the next 6 months.
Okay.
But in different countries.
Before we move on to what I had wanted to speak to you about, why don't you tell us a little bit about where you're going to be speaking, what you're going to be speaking about, what the events are that you're speaking at? I know that you're going to be in Portugal later this year.
Yes, Portugal is October.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so what's happening is that I will be speaking in South Africa with the Empowering Millions conference. So this is basically a business conference that is going global now. And we are taking this conference all over the world as a global entrepreneur. We'll be in South Africa. We're going to be in Kenya. We're going to be in Rwanda. We're going to take you to the United States of America. So this is a global conference. It's for entrepreneurs that are looking at starting, growing, exploding their businesses, and it combines faith as well. So the target market is Christians, anybody that's faith-based, and not to say that unbelievers are not invited, but that's our target market.
Beautiful. So that event is going global.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
And the announcements will be coming soon.
What I will do is I will add the link into the show notes. So if anyone wants to have a look at that, and if you're on that part of the world where Hazel will be speaking, you can have a look at what is being offered at that event. So thank you for that, Hazel. I want to speak to you about relationships, personal relationships, when you are traveling all over the world and you're a mum. So you're a mumpreneur, a global entrepreneur. And do you have a relationship? Are you in a romantic relationship? And if you are, how do you balance this? How do you make it work?
I usually don't talk about my personal life, but it is important as an entrepreneur to create the balance. Fatima, here's the thing is that I have a lot of, I would say, suitors, definitely a lot. And basically where I'm at is that I've got a great vision and plan that I have for myself. And I don't see myself being the conventional kind of woman that's going to need an ordinary man who wants a stay-at-home mom because I'm a global entrepreneur. I'm basically, yes, I'm out there dating, but the man that I want to be with is the man that will look at me and see me and say, there's my girl. Look at her go, and not limit me, because I'm a global leader and my destiny, and I've been called to nations, and I see myself with somebody who's called to nations and who will shake nations with me, equip and empower people with me. And so basically when I look at all my suitors, and if none of them meet that criteria, then it's a no-no.
That's so great. I love that you have a criteria, especially coming from an unhappy relationship and marriage, because as you, I'm sure, are very aware, we as humans, not as women, have patterns of behavior. So quite often people can remove themselves from an unhealthy and possibly toxic relationship to then go and repeat the cycle. Maybe not as bad, but continue to do that with something you haven't done. I want to ask you, the work that you have done on yourself professionally in terms of coaching, personally and business, do you think that has helped you to become stronger and get a lot more clear on what it is that you want and don't want in your life in relation to a relationship, so you don't fall back into that same old cycle?
I love your question. And I'm going to answer it speaking to all the women listening right now. When it comes to relationships, you want to be with somebody, number one, that wants you to succeed. You don't want to be with somebody that doesn't want you to walk in your purpose and destiny and wants you to focus on them only. So that's number one. You need somebody that believes in you, that wants you to succeed. And number two is, in relationships, you're not supposed to be competing. You're partners, you're one, and, where there's no unity and where people are divided, the home can't stand. So you need to be united. And what's important is that you need somebody that loves you unconditionally. We're talking about love, whether you're fat or slim. Somebody loves you for who you are. Somebody who knows how to love you and talk to you properly. You don't want somebody that's negative. A big put off for me is somebody, if I tell you that, I've got this vision and dream, because I'm a great visionary, and would tell me that I can't do something. You telling me I can't do something? I had one guy. He wanted me to go on a date with him, and we were talking over the phone, and I was extremely busy, and I just told him what I was doing and what I was believing for, and he told me I couldn't do it, and I was like, why would I want to go on a date with somebody who doesn't believe that I can achieve anything? And here it is that my experience traveling globally, the exposure, meeting different men, understanding different cultures is very, very important. And as a global entrepreneur, I'm not limited in choice either.
I absolutely love all of that. And what I would like to add is, I guess, what you're already saying, but in different words, is have high standards. Know your standards. Do you have a list? I mean, you do have a list, obviously, because you've just spoken about it, but do you have a written list, Hazel?
Here it is that what I do is that before I even go on a date with anyone, or even before I even say yes, is that number one, I'm very, when I say spiritual, is that I was raised in church, and number one, he's got to love God, because I believe that if a man is in tune with God, is that his nature to be faithful and his nature to love me unconditionally will come through his connection with the Father. And so that's I'm definitely attracted to a man who loves God, and that's a huge plus for me. Number two, he's got to have a vision and a mission and a plan. I cannot be with somebody who is looking to me to lead him and guide him and to help him where he's going to, and he doesn't even understand who he is. You know what I mean? He's got to know who he is, have a purpose, have a plan, and you know what I mean? And yes, I'll help him there. And number three is that he's got to be a provider. Is that we've got a lot of women that I get into relationships, and the relationships are so toxic because he's not a provider. And I know a lot of people are not going to understand the next thing I'm going to say, that even biblically, before a man even decided that he was going to be married to a woman, he knew that he had to get the dowry ready. He had to be a provider. And getting into marriages and getting into relationships before you can even provide for the woman, let alone have children, is something that I don't believe in. And then number four is that you've got to have somebody that's family orientated. Success is just not about money. Family is important. Yeah, and those are just some of my top lists.
Absolutely love that you've got a list. I personally will admit that I do have a list. I have a written list of what is important to me in a relationship, so that I do not return to toxic relationships. And it's not about necessarily ticking boxes. It's all about having standards for myself. And I have that, whether it be in personal relationships, whether it be friendships, business relationships, and around how I take care of my own health, my standards and expectations for that. Thank you, Hazel, so much for sharing that. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening and you are single, not in a relationship, I suggest that you take Hazel's advice on board in relation to having a list. I think it's really, really important, and also having standards. Look at how you can raise your standards for yourself in your life, because if you aren't going to have high standards for yourself, who else is going to have high standards for you? You know, if you don't do it for yourself, who else is going to do it for you? Hazel, it's been so wonderful having you on the show today and sharing candidly so much about your life and what you're out there doing. Is there anything that you would like to share with us, with the audience, before we end this interview?
Yes, there is. Basically, what I've learned and the advice I want to give right now is that there are a lot of women that are in businesses and in relationships that they're not happy with. In business, you've just started this business because you've seen XYZ doing it, or okay, it's making you money and you're not walking in your purpose. When you're walking in your purpose, and that's when you get the greatest satisfaction, and when you transform in lives. And that's the advice I want to give, is that you need to ask yourself, why are you in that business? Why are you in that relationship? If there's anything you've learned from my interview today, is that it's time to do a rain check on your relationships, on why you're in that business. And, you know, it's okay to start again. Get the courage and admit to yourself to say, you know what, this is not working. Let me try again. Let me get a business coach. Let me speak to someone. That's my advice for you today.
Thank you so much, Hazel. So much good advice in this entire interview and just in that last minute as well. Thank you for spending the time with us, and until next time. Thank you so much for listening to the show. I truly hope you have found it beneficial and have taken some value from it. Hopefully, a lot. If you did, please share this show with anyone you feel may need to hear it. I would also absolutely love if you would take a minute or two to review this show on iTunes, Stitcher, or whichever platform you happen to be listening to it on. With your help, we can accomplish my mission to positively impact 10 million lives. That would be so awesome. Now, if you want to connect with me or my guests on other platforms, or if you want to send me an email with questions or ideas of guests to interview, please check out the show notes. I am so incredibly grateful to have had your time today, and I can't wait to have you on the next episode. Have a great day.